This is The Backstory with Omobola Stephen. It's a balanced, objective, unbiased and disruptive conversation on government and politics. We shine more light on what has not worked and what would make it work. And now, to the finest personable and engaging host extraordinaire, Omobola Stephen. Tune in.
Thanks for tuning into our podcast. We love having you here, and it's our mission to bring you all the latest and greatest tips, skills, and know-how to make you the best that you can be. We know that you have it in you, and we're going to show you how. Now, let's get started.
And now, here's your host.
This is Omobola Stephen, the host of the Backstory with Omobola Stephen. On the Backstory, we like to focus on what has now worked and what we make it work, focusing on government and politics and other subtopics like the environment, society and culture, and also science and technology. Today, I have Sergeant James J. Brun, also known as the retired spy, who has worked with the intelligence branch of the Canadian Armed Forces. Welcome with me on the show today, J. Brun.
Thank you. My pleasure to be here.
Pleasure having you on the show. You have retired from active duty. Now you have 25 years experience as an entrepreneur. Do you think that much of what you learned can be utilized in the civilian world that we have presently?
Well, working 20 years in the Canadian Armed Forces provides you a lot of opportunities for specialized training that you would not normally have. But I've learned so much in those character building moments in those 20 years, 5 within the combat arms, but 15 within the intelligence branch, that propelled me afterwards in regards to finding more of a purpose, I guess, or making a difference in people's lives. So it's a great, there's a saying that I use that your mess is your message. Your mission, if you so choose to accept it, is to share with others what you've learned during that mess. And for me, I also always had a challenge with self-identity. I did not know why I'm here or what I wanted to do. And I remember in high school, your parents, your mother, your father, your grandparents, and people around, and your aunts and uncles asking, so what do you want to do? What do you want to do? What do you want to be after high school? And I just struggled. I did not know what I wanted to do or to be, or so I went through a lot of what I would call character building moments. But in those 20 years of serving within the Canadian Armed Forces, you do discover your strengths. You do discover what you're good at, where your passion resides, and you do know your blind spots. And then from that provides sort of like a framework in regards to, okay, where can I specialize? Where can I focus in my entrepreneurial career? Which today we are now in our 25th year as a training company, helping and equipping people for works of service. So I'm a big advocate that your past does not dictate your future, but your past does prepare you for your future. And now I'm living it. I'm actually in an area where I can make a difference in people's lives. It's what I call the legacy awareness factor.
Right. Now, still talking about being an entrepreneur, I'd like you to share with my audience, how was the transition like, right? You know, from your career to now being a successful business owner and also an author?
Well, there was always an entrepreneurial DNA in us, because my father, I come from a small village. We were barely 200 people. It's a lumber town, and my dad owned the gas station. So that's where I worked during the summer, pumping gasoline. And then my father then had a sawmill. So he had a gas station and a sawmill. And again, he's an entrepreneur. And then he had what they call a chip harvester. So cutting down trees and running it through a chipper where it does the wood chips so that he could sell that to the sawmill to make paper. So he's had 3 companies, running 3 companies, but he was an entrepreneur. So I grew up with that entrepreneurial mindset. But my father would always say, make sure you find yourself a good, safe federal job. Federal job. Because government, federal, you don't have a lot of as much responsibilities as an entrepreneur. An entrepreneur is not going to pay himself first. He or she is going to pay the salaries of other people before paying themselves. So it's a different mindset. And my dad just saw that, he wanted us not to struggle as much as he struggled. So guess what? I joined the military. I did 20 years in a government employment. Every 2 weeks, you get your paycheck. It's nice, safe paycheck. But that entrepreneurial DNA was still inside. So I wanted to be in charge. I wanted to run my own company. I wanted to make a difference. So I took everything that I found or learned and then not being able to transit. And what I was good at is equipping people, training and teaching people. So I just have a very systematic that I can take any person, any organization, decode their human capital, their strengths, and then maximize their strength. So that became sort of like the hub or the mantra of our company, DHC Training Solution, Decoding Human Capital Training Solutions. So we provide training solutions for corporations, whether they're government or private corporations. We focus on equipping people for works of service. We all have works that we do to serve others. So we are equipping them and providing them our model of reference to understand people more effectively so that they can communicate more effectively. So the entrepreneurial side of me was always there. And I guess maybe that's why I after 20 years, I resigned from the military and I decided to start my own training company. And we've been doing it successfully now for 25 years. And I'm still loving it. I just came back from Cancun this week. And I'm like, wow, we're going to go back and we're going to be doing training in Cancun on the beaches. Imagine that. It's a different lifestyle. So the entrepreneurial side is I can reach more people with that platform than if I was in government. I actually do more work now for the Canadian government. I do more work for the Canadian government as a sole entrepreneur than when I was in uniform with the Canadian government. It's funny because they hire me back to equip and to train their trainers in what I do.
Jane, how was your experience as the professional spa? How has it influenced the way you approach problem solving in your personal and also professional life?
In problem solving?
Yeah.
Well, in every interaction, I've learned that in every interaction you have with people, you will either complete or compete with that interaction. Now, my first mother tongue is French. Second is English, and I speak Discanese. So I'm a trilingual speaker. Now, in English, the word complete and compete, they're very similar. But one has the letter L. You complete versus compete. Two people competing, who's going to be in charge, versus completing, as in working with another person. So my mind goes into, well, how do I complete? So the letter L, if you can find a common link, a common like, or a common love, you're going to make a connection. You'll be on your way of completing that interaction versus competing with that interaction. So it's a big factor here in regards to when you're looking at someone, when you're working with someone, can you find a common link? Can you find a common like? Can you find a common love? And when you do, you can make a connection. I've designed a platform called the Rapport Ladder. So how do you connect with people by design and not by chance? How do you complete that interaction? So the Rapport Ladder has 4 rungs. So the first step that we need to do is listening, followed by observing, followed by discerning, followed by speaking. So when we interact with people, if we want to make that connection, I'm not a big advocate of instant rapport. Rapport for me is at the top of the ladder. That's the highest state of relatability between two people. I do believe you can make an instant connection if you can find that common link, that common like, or that common love. How do you do that? By listening. We first have to listen to the other person, and then discerning which persona are they projecting. Then you decide which persona they're in so that you can communicate in a firm, fun, friendly, or factual manner. And then speaking, then you have to speak. So it's listening, observing, discerning, and speaking. There's a sequence. These are 4 main traits in there, and we're strong in a couple of these, and there's some that we struggle. Like listening for me is hard. It's something that is a learnable skill. I had to learn to listen because it wasn't. I already observed and already decided. So I have to stop, start slowly, breathe, and listen to what the person is saying. You listen in silence. If you take the word listen and you rearrange the letters, you do get the word silent. Somebody showed me that one time, and I'm like, wow. I wrote the word listen, and oh yeah, all the letters makes the word silent. So you have to listen in silence. Got it. And then if you rearrange the letters again, you have the word enlist. So if you listen in silence, you'll be able to enlist the proper response. So it provides that opportunity that, okay, you want to really connect with them, right? You don't want to compete with them, you want to complete. So how do you do? Find that the L factor, common link, common like, common love. But then there's a rapport ladder that you can actually step 1, step 2, step 3, step 4, enable to get there. Because at rapport, this is where you sign the business contract. This is where you're really relating and people and really connecting. This is where you've established and maintained trust with people. So it is an end state that you want. Quite often when people call, let's say a client, I don't know if I'm a good fit for them. I don't have what I call the 3 Ps. I don't know their people. I don't know their problems, what's keeping them up at night. I don't know their protocols, how they do business. So when I have that first meeting, is to discover the 3 Ps. Now tell me a little bit about your people. Tell me a little bit about what's keeping you up at night, the problems. Tell me a little bit about how you're running your business, your protocols. When I have the 3 Ps, I can discern if I'm a good fit for them. So everyone can actually apply that when they go in, as opposed to forcing yourself on the client or forcing yourself in a company and I'm all this and I'm all that. Have a conversation. Get to know their people, get to know what's keeping them up at night. We all have problems, right? And is that the lane that you're in, that you work? Is that the expertise that you have? And then understand their protocols. Sometimes they don't even follow their own protocols, their own system. Now you're not going to go into train. You're going to go into more of a consulting aspect or expertise that you're going to offer them versus a training expertise that you're going to offer them. So we're in the people business. So I can use 2 Ps to decode one's preferred communication style, pace versus priority, and then from there know how to communicate more effectively. There's a rapport ladder that I can use in order to make that connection by design, not by chance. And then when I had that conversation, the 3 Ps, so that, and I was almost programmed at a very young age that it's safe to work in the shadows or to be in the shadows. And maybe that's why I decided to go within the intelligence branch, because we do tend to work in the shadows. But you can't spend all your life in the shadows. At one point, you're going to have to step out of the shadows into your spotlight. You were designed, created, invented to make an impact and a difference in people's lives. When I was working as a contact handler in Bosnia, my first case, my first person that I was given that I had to build a relationship, This gentleman we branded him as the self-declared mayor of Mostar. He was not the mayor, but he sort of like projected himself as the mayor. So he was more like the Al Capone, if you wish, or running that whole canton of that Obstina. Now, how do you build a relationship with somebody that? So I use the 10 most effective feel-good ice-breaking questions. I memorized these questions because I was told that if you memorize these questions, you will always be able to carry conversation with people. And people do want to talk. If you can find their hot button, right? If you can just press that button. And the first question that I asked him, I said, I'm just curious, right? I'm just curious. And that leaves the subconscious mind open. I said, oh, what are you curious about? I'm just curious. How did you ever get interested in politics? The power of the question, because it's a thought-provoking question. It can't be answered with a yes or no. And the original question is, how did you ever get started in the widget business? And you replace the word widget with whomever you're talking. So he was the self-declared mayor, or he projected himself as the mayor. So that's politics. And I just reframed it as, well, how did you ever get interested in politics? Because if you ask that question, they'll talk for 10 minutes nonstop. He talked for 45 minutes nonstop. And the more he talked, the more he showcased his preferred communication style. And it gave me an opportunity to really focus on him as he was talking. So yeah, we work in the shadows, as in that we weren't necessarily seen. It was always a back room or offices. But at one point, you get to be known. And from there, you get to step out of the shadows into the spotlight, and you take more of a leadership role. And then you share with others what you've learned. There's a saying of your message. And in your mission, if you so choose to accept it, just to share with others what you've learned. Well, I spent a lot of time in the shadows. Yeah, both professional and career. But I'm at the point where I need to step out of the shadows and share with others what I've learned to help them also get out of their shadows and claim their power, claim their position in life, to make a difference in people's lives. It's leaving your mark, and it makes a big difference when you sense that you've given, and the more you give to others, the more you receive from others. So it's a good way of seeing life now for me. I wish I would have done that a little bit earlier. But those are the timelines that I had. Okay, so I worked in the shadows. Well, there's a lot of people that work in the shadows. At one point, you'll step out and you'll make a difference. And sometimes it's making a difference to one person, and that person can have a big influence in the community that they have. So it's just that's the path that I was on, or that I'm still on, because we're on a journey. It's not finished. And I just want to make sure that I go back in the shadow. I want to stay in the spotlight in the sense of why am I being interviewed? Why am I receiving a lot more of these offers to be interviewed? Well, to share what I've learned, and maybe that will help somebody else along the way as they journey through life.
JJ, quickly, can you share the importance of intelligence gathering in the modern day society that we have? Really dynamic one, if I must say, and also the role that the spy has evolved. The role of spy has evolved over the years.
Yeah, we tend to label what we don't understand. I never wanted to be the retired spy. Your brand is what people say it is. It's when I retired from the military and from the intelligence branch, and I was working with some colleagues, and then some would say, oh, who's that guy over there you were talking to? Oh, that's JJ. He used to be a spy. And then they love doing that. They just love to say, oh, he used to be a spy. We don't see ourselves as spies. We are an intelligence operator, a staff officer. Society tends to label what we don't understand. We see the James Bond movie and we think that's the spy era. We see the Mission Impossible, the brand new Mission Impossible movie that just came out. Oh my gosh, never had the car, never had the all the beautiful ladies. I'm not so good at playing poker. As in, they paint this persona, right, of James Bond or of the Tom Cruise in his Mission Impossible, and then you see all the other series, the Jack Ryan, the CIA operative, and I'm like, oh my gosh. Now, do I believe that some of that exists? Yeah, there's some of that, but it's all movie, it's entertainment. It doesn't take an hour, a 1 hour episode may have taken 2 years of work in real life. So we have to take it with a grain of salt in regards to what we see on the but it's entertaining when you're seeing all of these little documentary, whether it's on Netflix and Prime Video. There's a lot of good series out there, but there's also some very good documentaries in there in regards to people who have lived the spy life and that were found and lost their lives, but have also left a legacy behind of what they were able to change the course of history. So there's still very people are still interested in that area. Just to know that for me, and I think a lot of our within the intelligence community, we don't see ourselves as spies. It's more of it's a vocational direction. We are intelligence analysts, staff officers. We have a different title or responsibilities, but people tend to label what they don't understand. And we're okay with that. We understand. Why did I accept to be branded as the retired spy? Well, I'm an interpersonal skills expert, or I'm a recognized global authority in communication and relationship development. I'm a 3-time award-winning speaker. But what do people remember me as? The retired spy. So it's a brand. If there's a stickiness to it, and you know what? After 8 years of running away from it, I accepted it. Okay, let's play with it. Let's have some fun with it. And now I can go into conferences. Quite often, I'm asked to open a convention, and I will do a live decoding of the room. I will actually go inside, and there's maybe 1,000 people in the auditorium, and I will decode their preferred communication style live. And then they go, "Oh my gosh, how do you do that?" And then I show them the 2 P's to decoding human capital. I show them the rapport ladder. I show them the 3 P's to.
I would like you to tell me the importance of intelligent gathering. Now, this is the work that you've done in time past. In this era that we have right now, especially now that we're turning towards AI becoming a part of our lives, quickly share the importance of intelligence gathering in this modern age that we presently in.
You receive it or you resist it. Like right now, artificial intelligence is here. Now you can walk away from it. You can resist it or receive it. How might we use artificial intelligence, in a good way? Now, it makes it harder for us to discern if somebody's telling the truth or not. Like if you go to the social medias and you hear, I see this newscaster, and they're talking about investing in something, and I'm like, wait a minute, that doesn't, but it's like it is branded like an official report, but they're saying that this celebrity is invested in this and everyone can make X amount of money. So artificial intelligence is also used on the social media to mislead. And you'll have to be good at reading, discerning if this is truthful or not. The program that I'm getting back into that lane of program called Enhanced Investigative Interviewing. So I have a model of reference that I spent a whole day in it. And then I have a whole day on reading body language, how to read the message so that you're not misled. When somebody tells the truth, what does that look like? When that same persona is embellishing, what does that look like? So you don't fall victim or prey to this. It goes into the power of the question. You got to be good at asking questions. Sometimes asking yourselves, is this true or not? Can I use this or not? Listening is a big attribute to have. And then, of course, cultural awareness, understanding different cultures will also communicate differently. Some will use a linear form of communication. Some will use a circular form of communication. Well, if you're accustomed to the linear and someone is talking to you in a circular information, that once I give you all the information, you should figure it out. You should figure what I'm trying to say. You may think that that person is hiding something. No, cultural. It has a different meaning. So, and today, it becomes even more important to really have a good sense of self-awareness, understanding your strengths, understanding your weaknesses. Because I know my strengths, but I also know how I can get misled, because I admire people that are fluent, that can just talk a mean game, or they're just fluent, and then they're talking business language at the same time. Then I lose $5,000 in that investment. Lesson learned. Then again, the same persona, I lose $7,000 in that investment. And then when I lost $10,000 in that investment, and my wife, Julie, my business partner, she had a feeling every time about these three investments. She had a feeling there was something not. Now I'm like, well, tell me more about how you feel about this, because I was how I think about this, but she was always going on the feeling side of things, but she was able to discern things that I was omitting. I'm like, isn't that interesting? Having a strong sense of self, you can protect yourself from yourself in times of need, so that you don't make these mistakes. 5,000, 7, 10,000, that hurt. And then I knew I needed to spend some more time with my wife to discern a little bit more her feelings, because she was better at discerning that area. So today's harder because you're bombarded with so much content, so much information. What is true? What is not true? We also have a lot more content that we can absorb to assist us in discerning. The podcast community. There's just so much. The TED Talk, the TEDx, the YouTube channels. There's just so much content out there that we can also pull into. How can I use AI? How can I discern if this is good AI or bad AI? Right, so that I can use this in my personal or my professional life. If you choose to resist it, if you choose to resist this, it's just going to run you over. Remember how we used to, I don't know about you, but you can tell the lack of hair that I have, my age, listening to music, right? It used to be that we had records, vinyls, and it went to cassette tapes and went to little CDs. That whole industry disappeared because they just stayed with it. Same thing with cars, fuel injection. We no longer needed carburetors, but they didn't buy into it. We'll stick with it. Well, there's no more cars with carburetors. You either accept technology, embrace it, receive it, but if you resist, you're going to get run over it. AI is here. I don't think it's going to disappear. So how can I learn about this? So now I'm going to start looking at workshops to learn about what AI is and what it's not, and how you can utilize it in business or in your personal life so that you don't fall prey or victim to it.
Thank you so much, JJ, for sharing your thoughts on today's show. JJ, do you have any projects in the pipeline you'd like to share with my audience?
For me, it would be get good at asking questions. Let me just see here if I can send something to you. Yeah. So I have the 10 most effective feel-good ice-breaking questions. So I'll put the link in the chat for you. So if you want to share that, it really helped me. There you go. I put that in the chat for you. It's theretiredspy.com/10 questions. The better you are at asking questions, whether it's in your business or in your personal life, the better you are at asking questions, the better you're going to be at initiating a conversation that will lead to a relationship, whether it's professional or personal. That's what made me different when I was working overseas with all the different nationalities. Just to say, I'm curious. How did you ever get interested in the blah, blah, blah business, in the widget business? And from there, it just permits you to really be able to read other people's preferred communication style and then model it. So I would say for your audience, master the power of the question. It'll add tremendous amount of value for you.
All right. Share your social media handles on your website. Can you share your social media handles on your website?
Our website?
Sure.
Yeah, it's theretiredspy.com. www.theretiredspy.com, and you'll find everything that you need on there. And there's a couple of a nice little cool little spy stories in there also for your audience that wants to read a little bit more on there.
All right. Thank you once again, JJ Brun, for sharing your thoughts on today's show, especially talking about the intelligence gathering, intelligence, and also importance of the information, and really had a worthwhile time listening to your thoughts. I wish you best of luck in all the projects that you embark upon.
My pleasure. Thank you for the opportunity to be here.
All right. Now, this is the Backstory with Omobola Stephen, and I have JJ Brun, who has been the retired spy, who was worked with the intelligence branch of the Canadian Armed Forces. He's been doing entrepreneurship for over 25 years, and he's shared a bit about his experience with the intelligence gathering, and also as an entrepreneur with the audience of the Backstory with Omobola Stephen. If you'd like to catch up with any of these episodes, you can do so on any cross-promotion platforms or any distribution platforms with Complete Online. And you have a really great time listening to professionals and experts share their disruptive mindset conversation on topics on the government and politics, and also on society and culture, science and technology. Till I come your way, I need to stay on the good aspect.